Hello, welcome to the final chapter in cost accounting, chapter 8. Now I know you're saying, "Oh, what about chapter 7?" Well, if you took the physical classroom class, not the online, you don't have to do 7. So I know it's just a flexible budget, but 8 is what um, most people do in the physical classroom. You just go right to 8. And that's what I remembered doing as well. So I'm just going to do 8, which is just basically learning how to do that tree where you have actual times um, actual quantity times standard price, and then standard quantity times standard price. And it's pretty straightforward. Still hard to explain without showing. It's just cost accounting is one of those that it's less theory and less like thinking about it and more as just doing. It's a lot of just math calculations. So I'll do an example of 8/8 on the board tomorrow. But um, I just want to say good job for everybody who made it through. And I'm probably going to start doing videos on each chapter. Maybe do like a visual. Maybe look in the book and just draw a picture because I had some requests for that. And it makes sense because visual aids are helped me too. I'm very visual, so it makes a lot of sense. So okay, 8 is standard cost accounting, materials, labor, and factory overhead. So as you know, performance is measured as a difference between actual performance and standard or best practices performance. So you know how a baseball player will be compared to what a good average is. Like if he's batting .3 batting average, 300 or more home runs, 1,500 or more runs batted in. That's how you make it into the Hall of Fame in the baseball. You have to meet a certain criteria um, to be acknowledged as a position to be entered into the Hall of Fame. It's the same with McDonald's. If you're working at McDonald's, the crew's performance is measured against standards. So there's a standard of McDonald's where how long does it take to serve a customer at the drive-thru window? How many pounds of ground beef should be used to make a certain number of burgers? The cleanliness of the restaurant as compared to predetermined company standards. So there's always going to be a standard that's set. And then what actually happens is compared to what the standard is, and then you're going to get differences. Either you exceeded the standard or you didn't exceed standard. You went a little bit less. But there's a way. That's what we're going to learn in this chapter is how to measure out, okay, where you fell, because no one's perfect, and so trying to maintain perfect. You don't want to maintain perfect standards because then it can demotivate employees. Like, oh well, you set an unrealistic goal because stuff happens. Sometimes a customer might be a little bit more hard to deal with. Sometimes you might drop a pound of beef on the ground. You might make a certain product the wrong way. Mistakes happen, slows down production, and so you want to set a standard that isn't super high, but isn't super low. That's just a great middle ground to where you can still exceed it and do better than that, which is great. But you also can go underneath it, which means you got to pick it up a little more. So this chapter examines how to measure how well the three elements of manufacturing cost: materials, labor, and overhead are utilized relative to predetermined standards, and how to use this information to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of business operations. And so basically, each service business, such as McDonald's and Sears, have standards for tasks such as how long it should take to serve a customer in the drive-thru line, or how long it should take to replace a muffler, respectively. And so there's standards. There's an ideal standard, which is like perfection, like no holidays, no rest periods, vacation, no mistakes. It's like perfection, but the problem is with an ideal standard is it comes with a psychological disadvantage because people lose are discouraged and lose incentive to meet standards that are usually impossible to maintain unless under perfect operating conditions. Life's not perfect, and so that's where we have obtainable standards. Obtainable standards are set to where, okay, this isn't a perfect standard, but it's just high enough that where if you can at least meet this standard, you're doing fine. This is all we ask. But it leaves room to overachieve, which is what you want. You want people to be able to go over the standard, which is why I think here at SPSCC we grade on a ABC, and I believe that schools shouldn't, because you know how when you take a test or you do homework, you get a certain points. Well, everything's out of like 100, but you can never get over 100% unless they give extra credit, which is very few and far between. I think schools should set the standard a little lower where, let's say out of a whole class, there's 500 points possible, but they give you 650 out of everything. So assignments, tests. So on each assignment, they might give you like 10 extra credit points, to where that way they set the standard where, okay, you can get over an A because we allow you to, but you can still not. And I kind of like that theory where it sets the bar not real high, but it sets it kind of in the middle, to where you can get over the bar, but you can also go under, and it makes more sense having an attainable standard. And so once again, I'm explaining it based on that's why I like doing these explanation videos, just talking about the theory of it, of why they do it. And because sometimes I'm the kind of person where if you don't tell me why I'm doing something, then what's the point of me doing it? I mean, there has to be a reason. And it kind of comes to all these business law classes I've taken. It's like one thing about law is you question, okay, what is this? What is that? Where's the proof? Tell me why. Why are you wasting my time? Yeah, it's like, and so that's another thing about education. You want to become educated, because if you lack education, then it's easy for someone who has education to take advantage of you, or bully you, or pressure you into certain ways because they have more knowledge that you don't have. And that's what happens a lot, especially in that court. If you have very little knowledge of the law, it's easy for the other side to just demolish you because of your lack of knowledge. And so that's why I try to do these theory videos, to help get you thinking, get you analyzing this stuff and life. And so basically, you're going to learn the tree table, which is actual, there you go, like materials, actual cost times actual quantity, and then actual quantity times standard price, and then standard price times standard quantity. And then the difference between these two, if the left side's lower than the right, it's favorable. If the left side's higher than the right, it's unfavorable. And it's the same for this side. So if this side's higher than this side, go ahead. Yeah.
Keep going.
I'll see you. My friend, he's from Iraq. He likes to go to the gym and whatnot. Great guy. I was teaching him though how to do. He likes to lift weights, which I like also. But you want to balance it. So I taught him how to do. When you do weights, you also want to do yoga, because weights is a very movement-based activity, where yoga is very static. It has movements, like a lot of movements, but it's like doing the reverse of lifting. And so it's good to lift, but it's also good to do stretches and different like isometric movements, because it just complements everything, and it helps build more strength and flexibility than just weightlifting alone. So, but yeah, so It's unfavorable if the right side's bigger than the left. And then you take the favorable and the unfavorable and subtract them, or if they're both favorable, you add them, or if they're both unfavorable, you add them, and that's your net variance, net materials variance. And so, I hope this helps, and I'll do the example 8.8 tomorrow, and that'll be the end of cost accounting. It's a tough class, only because it's a lot of calculations, organization. It can be pretty tough. So thank you. I hope this helps. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. And please like and subscribe, because then it just keeps me going and hopefully helps others. So thank you, and I'll see you tomorrow.